Hi, welcome to our Introduction to Ally for Canvas workshop. My name's Katie, and I'm here with my co-presenter Genevieve, and we'll be talking today about Ally for Canvas. A quick note, these slides are available at bit.ly/intro to Ally. Please note that the word intro and ally are capitalized, and that does matter if you are trying to view these slides. What we're going to talk about today is why accessibility matters and our digital accessibility efforts here at CWRU. Then we'll take a look at Ally the tool, as well as give a demonstration of it, and provide some information on additional resources we made available to you. With that, I'm going to hand this over to Genevieve, who's going to give us an introduction to digital accessibility at CWRU.
Thank you, Katie. Digital accessibility is a key component of our core values here at CWRU. If you look at the university's mission, vision, and value statements, you'll see reference throughout to inclusion and diversity. But you'll also note specifically in the core values that are available at the institution, academic excellence and impact, inclusiveness and diversity, integrity and transparency, and effective stewardship are all key components. Underneath inclusiveness and diversity, we also call out the importance of civility and the free exchange of ideas, civic and international engagement, and appreciation for the distinct perspectives and talents of each individual. In addition to our core values, CWRU includes accessibility in its policy statements. We do not, as an institution, discriminate in recruitment, employment, or policy administration on the basis of disability. You can find out more information about that in our affirmative action and equal employment opportunity policy. It's also important to note that with regard to students, CWRU does not discriminate on the basis of disability in administering educational policies, admission policies, scholarship and loan programs, or athletic and other university-administered programs. This is all very important, and the background to this is federal funding and laws on accessibility. The ADA prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in employment and accessing goods and services in both the public and private sphere. This specifically applies to us as an institution of higher education. In addition, the United States Access Board published a revision in 2017 to Section 508 Information and Communication Technology Standards that specify the rules that govern content accessibility under the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, and other accessibility legislation. In these revised standards, all types of public-facing and certain types of non-public-facing electronic content must comply with WCAG 2.0 accessibility standards. These rules apply to educational and training materials and thus require that content posted to the CWRU Canvas LMS be accessible by persons with disabilities. To help our faculty and staff better understand digital accessibility, the Office of Teaching and Learning Technologies has created a Canvas course called Digital Accessibility at CWRU. It is an asynchronous, fully online training course that provides information about digital accessibility and can serve as a resource for anybody who participates in the course. It is available now on Canvas, and at the end of the training, we'll tell you how you can enroll and participate. Another resource that the Office of Teaching and Learning Technology has made available to support our faculty and staff in their pursuit of digital accessibility is a tool called Blackboard Ally. We refer to it as Ally for Canvas, but it is a tool that was developed by Blackboard for use in Canvas to help enhance accessibility and usability of course documents. One benefit that it provides our students is it enables our students to access alternative formats of course documents on demand to meet their unique needs as learners. For our faculty, it shows accessibility scores for course documents and files and modules and the rich content editor, and offers guidance on ways to improve those scores. And faculty also now have an access to a course level report to get an overall view of their course accessibility. Why are we using Ally here at CWRU? It is in an effort to foster greater inclusion, celebrate diversity, and extend access to learning content in the Canvas LMS. It is also to comply with the disability legislation that I mentioned earlier. Our goals of using Ally are to enhance your awareness of digital accessibility at CWRU in Canvas courses, and our plan is to coordinate with a number of faculty in using the tool actively to increase the accessibility of their courses. We will be providing training and support resources like this and more, And we hope to help CWRU better understand faculty and student digital accessibility support needs related to academic content that is provided to students online. I'm now going to hand everything back over to Katie, who will give you a demonstration of Ally.
Thanks, Genevieve. I'm going to go ahead and close out of our slides here, and we're going to jump right into Canvas where I have Ally pulled up and ready to look at. So let me jump into my demonstration course. So here I have my demonstration course, and the easiest place to see Ally is actually going to be from the Files page in your Canvas course. And we're going to start here because it is the easiest place to see it, but then we'll also take a look at the other places in Canvas where Ally shows up. Looks like we're a little slow today, but that's all right. Okay, so here we have the Files area. Next to each of my files in this Canvas course, you will notice that we have an accessibility column, and there's a little colored gauge next to each item. This gauge indicates the accessibility score for that document, and this is what Ally is providing to me as an instructor in this course. So Ally shows these gauges, and they range in color, and also the needle position changes. So we have a red icon, an orange icon, a light green icon, and then a darker green icon. These range telling me that my score for this document is either low, medium, pretty good, or perfect. You can hover over any of these gauges to kind of see that score real quick there, that this is telling me that I have a medium score. And you can also click on the gauge to get a more detailed breakdown of what is or could be improved with your document. So let me go ahead and click on my gauge here next to my syllabus document, and that will load up the Ally window. Now, when that comes up, what's going to happen is we'll get a preview of my document along the left-hand side, and this is kind of just a quick glance of what Ally is identifying as an issue with your document. So here I can see that I have an issue and it's outlined in red, and I can use this arrow here to kind of move down to the next item that Ally has identified as a potential issue. And that's kind of just a quick glance about what is going wrong with that. I can use the controls at the top here to turn off that highlight. So if I don't want to see the highlight, I can turn that off. And then of course I have my zoom options and my download option, just like normal. What we also have is this whole section on the right. This is really the true value of Ally here. Ally will show you the issues with your document, provide a score for that, and then tell you what that actually means and how you can fix it. So here I have a 66% score overall for my syllabus document, and it's telling me right off the bat here that my document has tables that are missing headers. Well, maybe I don't know what that means, so I'm going to click this button that says what this means. And what Ally will do is it'll actually explain what are table headers and why they make a difference. So I can navigate between those two panels using the arrows here, and it's kind of a self-guided little experiment or experience here with the Ally explanation. When I'm done with that, I can go ahead and close this explanation, and then I can actually go into Ally and see how I can fix that issue. So I'm going to click this How to Set Table Headers button, and Ally is going to guide me straight through how to download this document, fix the issue, and then upload it again. So I can click here to download my document, or if I have it on my computer, I can already open it. And then I select the program that I'm going to be using to edit my document, and in this case, it would be Word. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Word. And Ally is so organized here that they have provided the step-by-step detailed pictures and written instructions for what I need to do. So I can go through here, I can open my document and follow the steps that Ally is outlining. And then when I'm ready, I can click Next to actually upload that corrected document. The other nice thing about these instructions is that there is a print option at the bottom. So if you're someone who prefers to have the printed out version of the instructions, or you want to reference it again in the future, you can absolutely do that right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click Next just to show you what that looks like. So assuming that I have downloaded my document and corrected it, I can actually re-upload it right here. When I do that, it's going to update that file across my Canvas course. So in the instance of the syllabus, it will update it in the Files area and on the syllabus page where I've already put that file. So I don't need to worry about going into Canvas and re-uploading that document several times or updating any links. Ally will take care of that by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and close this piece of advice. And what I'm going to show you also up here is this button that says All Issues. So my syllabus document here actually has a couple of issues with it. It does have these tables that are missing headers, but if I click on the All Issues button, I can also see that I have some text with insufficient contrast. Now what Ally does is it shows you the most impactful changes that can be made to your documents first. So correcting those headers will take my document up to a 97% score from that 66% that it's at now. If I had just corrected the color contrast, it's only going to bump my score up by a few percentage points from 66% to 68%. So Ally is showing me the table information first before the color contrast issue. However, if I wanted to change the color contrast issue or fix that, I can just click Fix next to it, and Ally will show me what this means, how I can fix it, and then on the left it will also highlight every area where I need to address that issue. So that's one of the strongest features of Ally. Let's take a look real quick at where else you can see Ally in your course. So not only is it available on the Files page in your course, it will show up on the Modules page as well. If you have any files linked here, the Ally gauges will show up next to each file. Just like on the Files page, you can hover over the gauge to get more information or click on it to open up the Ally panel. You will also see the Ally gauges and tools on pages in Canvas or anywhere where there's a rich content editor, kind of like the assignments area or announcements or anything like that. Now with this, you will see the Ally gauges. They're kind of sprinkled in. They're here on my images in the lower left-hand corner, and just like everywhere else, I can hover over them to get a quick glance at that score. I can also see if I put a file in line that shows up there as well. Now some things I want to point out here is I'm actually going to go in and edit this page because I want to show you something and what you can see. So on this page, I did have a big paragraph of text under my first image here, which is in this yellow color. Ally will not identify issues with written text in Canvas. So if you are writing anything on a page or putting up an announcement or something like that, Ally's not going to identify issues with that. Ally really checks just the files in your course. However, that doesn't mean that you can't check the accessibility of written text. Canvas actually has a built-in accessibility checker, which looks like this little man in a circle that we can click on to run that. When I do that, Canvas is going to identify that issue right off the bat, and it kind of pops open just like Ally on the side here, where I can identify the issue, read about it, and then I can actually make the change real quick right here. So maybe I can make that text black and click Apply, and it'll change it right off the bat for me in the text box. So that's Canvas's accessibility checker. It does vary from Ally, but it is also a very good resource, particularly where you might be writing text in your Canvas course rather than providing files. So I'm going to go ahead and save that change so we can see that updated text. And there we have it. It's black. So the Canvas accessibility checker also works very well here. The other feature of Ally that I want to point out, in addition to the gauges and the advice on how to resolve issues in your documents, is the alternative file formats that are available to any file in Canvas. So what I can do is I can click on this little arrow next to the icon, or next to the file name rather, sorry. And I have the option to preview, which will open up the Canvas preview pane. But I can also click on this new option here, which is alternative formats. When I click on that, what's going to happen is it's going to open up the alternative formats dialog window here, and this is Ally. So Ally allows you to download any document as an alternative file format, such as a tagged PDF, HTML, EPUB, electronic braille, or an audio version of the file. It is important to note that these alternative file formats are not going to be any more accessible than the original source document. So Ally is not magically correcting anything or making any changes here. It is simply providing an alternative file format to the original document that you have uploaded to Canvas. So this is not a solving tool here, but it is a handy option for students and faculty alike. So what you can do is you can select your alternative file format. Maybe I want the audio version of my syllabus, so I can select that here, and then I can click download. and what'll happen is it'll download that file format. If it is the first time an alternative file has been generated for a particular file, it might take a couple of minutes to process. There will be a little loading screen that pulls up on Ally, letting you know that it is processing, and then it will download when it's ready. That MP3 version of the syllabus I've downloaded a couple of times, so Ally already had it generated on the back end and was able to give it to me really quick. So the more often it is used, the quicker it will be. The other thing I want to show you, just as an option, is also available in that alternative formats dropdown. You do have the option to turn off the ability to download an alternative format for a particular file. This is on an individual file by file basis, so you need to go into each individual file to turn this off. And you will do so with this arrow at the top of the little download window here. And you would select the option to disable alternative formats for this file. When you do that, you'll see the window now says the alternative formats have been disabled. To get that back, you can just click the Enable for this file button, and that'll turn that option back on. When you select this option, it is impacting the students in your course, so they will not be able to download those alternative formats. All right, so I'm going to go to the settings area of this Canvas course, and what I want to show you is the course level accessibility report that is available to the instructor. So I've clicked on settings in my Canvas course. I'm going to click on navigation at the top, and then I'm going to scroll down and find the Ally accessibility report, and I'm going to click on the dots and select enable. Once I've done that, I need to scroll back down and click save. That way it saves my change. And then once it does that, I will now have an Ally accessibility report option on the course menu. When I click on this, it will give me a high-level overview of all of the files in my Canvas course and the accessibility score for my course, as well as those individual files. So here I can see my whole course has a 93% score, which is pretty good. And then I can also scroll down and get a further in-depth look at what my common issues are. And then I can actually click into an issue to see the individual documents that are impacted by that. If I click on the individual document here, it will open up Ally in a new tab, which shows me the whole report, as well as the guidance that I need to take to fix that issue. So that's a really powerful tool that kind of gives you a general overview of your course, that kind of bird's eye view, and lets you see exactly what you need to see. So the final thing I want to take a look at real quick is what students see when they use Ally. So I'm going to go back to my home page here and jump into Student View, which will put us into that course as a student. The first thing you'll notice is that Ally Accessibility Report is not available on the course menu. So that is only available to instructors in the course. The other thing you'll notice is that I don't see any colored gauges. There's nothing at the bottom of my images, and there's nothing next to the file that is updated in my text. What I do have available to me as a student with Ally is the ability to access those alternative file formats. So I can still click on the arrow here, select alternative formats, and download an alternative file format for any file in Canvas. So that's just what I wanted to point out. Students don't see the colored gauges. They only have access to the alternative file formats. All right. With that, I'm going to jump back into our slides and wrap this up, sharing some resources and information that we have for you. Let me get that pulled up here. Okay, so for our resources, we have put together a help site, or actually Ally has put together a help site, my mistake, that is put together by Blackboard, so that is their training resources. If you would like to see their how-to documentation, that is available out there for you. We have also put together a CWRU specific site that does live in Canvas, and that kind of has some more curated resources that we think would be helpful, and we'll probably actually include a link to this webinar as well. Finally, we have our Ally at CWRU website. That is just the public-facing website that we have at CWRU for Ally. That also includes resources for getting started for students. So that is a great place to direct your students if they have questions about Ally. Finally, we just want to point out that if you do need assistance with Ally or have any questions about it, you can reach out to Canvas Help at case.edu or the UTech Help Desk, which is available at help.case.edu, 368-HELP, or help@case.edu. We are here to help you, so if you do have questions, please let us know. And then finally, we do have a link there for our digital accessibility course that Genevieve mentioned earlier. That is a self-enrolled course that does have resources for digital accessibility at CASE. So please check it out if you are interested. With that, we just want to say thank you for joining us today. We hope that you have a great day.